Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining the webinar today on how to streamline your workflow for 2020. We're going to be starting right now. Please note that everyone is currently on mute and will be for the remainder of the webinar. So if you have any comments about anything going on or any questions, just feel free to shoot it over in the chat box. I can get right back to you with a response. So what you're seeing right here is just a quick agenda for what we're going to be going over today in the webinar. I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Ryan Yake. I'm a graphic designer with about 4 or 5 years experience in graphic design. And I've also been working with the Flexit Design Cloud for about 2 to 3 years. So I have quite a bit of knowledge in the application itself. And then next up, we're going to be going over the context of the webinar for today. So we're going to be discussing around the current workflow status quo, going to be comparing what a good and bad workflow is, and also go over some challenges being faced by marketers and also designers. And then I'm going to go into Flexit and guide you on how to retool your workflow for 2020 by using the Flexit Design Cloud and showing you some great tips and tricks on how to do that. And then I'm going to follow it up with a 10-minute or so open floor question and answer period where you can ask anything about the webinar or anything else that you had questions on. So I'm just going to hop right into it, and here we go. So the biggest problem with the workflow in 2020 is definitely the creative and marketing relationship. So due to many factors, marketers these days are pressed between limited resources and demands for more personalized creative, backing them into a corner to choose between marketing to fewer consumers to deliver better experiences, or compromising on experience to reach more consumers. And this just isn't about the efficiency of any single channel. It's about improving marketing return on investment. And the business case that you see on the graphic on the right is essentially more creative will allow you to create more campaigns. And with more campaigns, you're able to reach more touch points, and thus you're able to produce more revenue. It seems simple, but while marketers may have countless campaign ideas, they need the content to be able to execute at scale as well. It's not just about pushing out more campaigns with generic content. It's also about scaling quality, personalized creative, and consistently maintaining brand standards. This is the big challenge. And as you can see here on this handy little graphic, you can see all of the different export types for all of the different channels. And you can see that how many different types of files apply to each channel, all the different kinds you can use, which is going to be the most important and primary. So as you can see, this presents a big challenge for creating a project that is omni-channel. And so for designers, the biggest challenges that designers report these days are the speed at which they're expected to complete work. So as you know, creating designs that are engaging and impactful, it takes time, right? So rushing a designer's creative process can really hurt the final design result. The next one is going to be the volume of work that designers are asked to do. So not only are designs expected to be creative, but designers are also expected to churn out size after size after size. And the third one is going to be being seen as a strategic partner to the business. So in order for designers to move from being a service organization to being more of a strategic business partner, they need to get feedback from the marketing team on how creatives performed so that they can produce more effective creative the next time around. And as you can see on the right here, with the current workflow, the way it is, this is typically what you kind of have to choose between. So you're kind of sacrificing one by choosing two. So for example, if you want to have an inexpensive and a fast creative design, it's typically going to be low quality. And then also if you're going to have an inexpensive but high quality design, it's probably going to be a slow turnaround. So that's kind of the biggest problem for designers these days. And then on top of that, there's more problems also for the production team. So non-designers are reporting that turnaround time is a big problem and a challenge. They're usually pressed to go to market as soon as possible, and this will generally lead to mistakes or even just poor quality in terms of execution. The next one is going to be creating variation, and that would be for testing, optimization, retargeting. There's a lot of different kinds of variations you can do with your design. It's pretty endless. And then the third would be exporting for omni-channel implementation. So in an all digital world, the demand is usually for a campaign to be shown across a variety of channels and to be viewed on many different devices in many different sizes. So as you can see on the right here, just have a quick graph comparing Flexit to Google Web Designer to Adobe Photoshop. And we just have an example of an HTML5 basic design. There's a 7-second animation, there's 10 sizes applied to it, and then after that, there's 4 variations done and 1 post-build change. And you can see with this graph here, with Flexitive, you're able to create these sizes, lots of sizes, very quick, and also make the post-build changes and variations. Whereas with other tools, it's very long and a daunting task. So now I'm going to hop into Flexitive here. I'm just going to exit out of my slides. I'm going to go into Flexitive. So what you should be seeing right now is the standard Flexitive opening interface. At the top, we have a contact support widget. If you ever have a question and you want to reach out to support, you can send an email to support and they'll get back to you within 24 hours. And then you also have the option to go to the search articles and look up something specific. So if you have a question on fonts, you can jump straight into the knowledge base and view more in-depth article on that certain subject. So I'm just going to exit out of the help and support widget here. And we're going to start going into what a good workflow is. So the first step of that is we're going to be creating a project here in Flexitive. So we're just going to title it Celebrate Coffee. And we're just going to click Create. So once I do that, it's going to open up the editor mode in full screen. And here you're going to be presented with a bunch of different template options for fixed sizes, responsive sizes, and you can also design for social as well. So the biggest workflow trick here is using templates. So you can imagine if you're trying to churn out a bunch of different designs one after another, and you have a lot of big demands, you can create templates for yourself. And even non-designers can go in and make the slight edits. So if all you need to do is update the text, a non-designer can quickly go into the template, update it, and it's ready to share and export. For the sake of this demo, we're just going to start with a blank canvas here today. So I'm just going to click the blank canvas. And here you're going to be presented with all of the different sizes that you can work with. So you're going to see all of our fixed in-page, which includes landscape and portrait sizes. We also have full screen sizes, which are for more mobile devices. And then you can also switch between from fixed to responsive. And also you have the ability to design for social as well. So we're just going to go to responsive, and we're just going to start with a pretty basic 1x1 breakpoint. We're going to activate that here. And within this, we're going to start to upload some assets to our canvas. So with Flexitive, you want to upload pre-built high-resolution assets that are typically designed externally in tools like Photoshop or Illustrator. And then you want to upload these assets and use them individually on one unique design. So we're going to click Upload Assets, and you have the ability to upload many different file types. So you can upload JPEGs, PNGs, animated GIFs, and MP4 videos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload my pre-done assets here. Click Open. And while those are uploading, I'm also going to point out another really handy workflow tool. So in Flexitive, you can actually embed designs. So for this design, I know I want to include this Adaptive Bean Coffee Co. logo. I can either use that as an asset, which I've uploaded, or I can also use an existing design that I've created. So here you can see I've created a Adaptive Bean white logo page. And all I'm going to do is click this ID here. And in the design that we were working on, in the Assets panel, I'm going to go from Images to Pages. And under Design ID, I'm just going to paste my design ID. And it's essentially going to be an asset for me to use on this design. And the greatest thing about these responsive embedded designs is that they're able to be embedded anywhere. And if I want to go change something on this design, so the logo, let's say I want to update the logo, it's going to be updated on every single design where this logo is inserted. So I'm just going to start dragging and dropping some of the assets onto the canvas. Here we have our colored background. And since it's its background, we're going to drag it down to our canvas background image layer. And what that's going to do is it's going to snap it to all edges, as you can see by the red lines. And it's also going to change the image from fit to fill and crop. So now with the image the way it is, you can see that when I'm resizing it, it's always going to be fit within the bounding box. And on top of that, you can use this little green focal point in the middle to change where you want the focus point of the image to be. And this is going to be for this size and for any other size that we activate afterwards. So I'm just going to quickly drag and drop the rest of my assets on the canvas. Here I have a adaptive bean whole beans coffee bag. And then I also have a adaptivebean.com call to action button. And then I'm going to go back to my pages and I'm going to drag the responsive logo page onto the canvas. And so here you can see the benefit of it is you can also change between if I want to have it landscape or if I want to go to the portrait version of the logo just by resizing the bounding box. Simple as that. So I'm going to stick with the portrait version here. And then the next step is I'm going to add some text onto our design. So with Flexitive, you can use web fonts, and with Flexitive, you have access to over 700 free Google fonts, and you also have the ability to upload your own licensed custom font. So this is great for maintaining brand standards. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the fonts dropdown, and we're going to type in Roboto, which is just a free Google font. We're going to type in Celebrate Coffee to match the title of our project. And we're going to change the font weight from regular to light. We're also going to change the default color from the all gray to an all white. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to increase the size. So there's two ways to do that. You can either go into the text settings panel and increase the size manually here, or you can resize from the edge of a bounding box. So as you can see, when I'm moving the corners, not the edge, it's not resizing the text in size, it's just resizing the bounding box. And this can also allow you to control whether it's on 1 or 2 lines. But then if I drag from the edge, you can see that it's going to manually scale up or down your text. And so this is just a better way to do it visually compared to typing in a set number, for example. I'm going to actually bring this back to the landscape logo so it fits a bit better. And I'm just clicking the button Q to turn off and on outlines, just to give me a clear picture of how the design looks. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go open up my animation panel, and I'm going to click on Start Animating. So another great thing about Flexitive is that there are some global changes in Flexitive, and animations are one of those global changes. So when I apply the animation to this one size, it's going to be applied to all the other sizes that we begin to activate afterwards. So what I'm going to do, sorry, just give me 1 second here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on our first element, which is our background image. And as you can see, we're using frames because frames makes it really easy to add animations. And as I was saying before, it scales really well to the additional sizes. So on this first frame, we don't want our background to animate in, so we're going to switch it from hide to show. And instead of selecting one of the many different animation options you can choose from, we're just going to stick with no animation, since we just want it to open with the background visible. We're then going to add another animation frame, and we're going to start animating in the rest of our assets on the canvas. So we're going to have our whole beans coffee bag slide in from the right. We're going to have our adaptive bean logo fade in. On another frame, we're going to have our Celebrate Coffee fade in, along with our call to action button. We're going to add another frame, and with our call to action button, instead of just doing a typical animating in animation, we're going to select a hover animation. So under Other, we're going to select hover state, and we're going to select grow. So now when a user hovers over this element, it's going to bring added attention to it by growing. And we can quickly preview our animation sequence by clicking on play at the top of the animation frames panel. As you can see, it's pretty good. The one thing I want to change is I want to speed it up a little bit. So as you can see with animations in Flexitive, there's going to be a duration of 1 second for each frame and also a delay of 1 second between each frame. And you can use this show elements on canvas to quickly preview what elements are animating in, which elements are not animating. So if I click that, we can get a clearer picture of how the design is looking on a frame by frame basis. And it gives you a little bit more control of how you want to change it. So here we just see that the background is going to be static, not animating. So we want to change that to 0 seconds, and we want the delay to be 0 seconds. So we're going to have it starting with the elements fading in for 1 second, and we're going to also reduce the delay between the rest of the frames to 0.5. And I'm just going to quickly preview those changes just to, as you can see, much quicker now, and it's working pretty well. Cool. So the next step here is we're going to go to create/sizes, and we're going to go back to our view all sizes page. And so here's one of the coolest things about Flexitive is activating sizes. So if you're a designer, or even if you're not a designer, you know the struggle of creating sizes. And in Flexitive, it's super easy. All you do is you click the new size, and Flexitive is going to do its best to adapt to this new size. As you can see, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be ready to show probably, but all it takes is literally just a few quick adjustments. So what I'm doing is I'm just resizing some of the elements, moving them up and down to get it better fitting for this size. And as you can see, in 10 seconds there, I've already adapted this new size. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue to go through, and I'm just going to quickly, for this logo, I'm going to set the focus to the left here. And what I'm doing is I'm just quickly editing some of these sizes to scale it out for a bunch of different responsive sizes. And then once we get to a certain point, I'm going to show you why we're doing this exactly. So here I'm going to change the logo from the landscape to the portrait. Bear with me here. And so one of the coolest things about these newly activated sizes is that all of the animations that we've done on that first size, so if we go back to our view all sizes and we open up our animation panel here, we can see that the animations that we set on the first design have been applied to all of these different sizes. So that's pretty cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to activate a few more sizes here. I'm just going to end off with one more landscape quickly, and then I'm going to go to portrait. So back in our view all sizes, just going to switch to portrait just to make sure we have some of these sizes active as well. So this is where it's probably going to be a little bit more drastic because it's going from a 1x1 square size to a very different portrait size, but you can still see how easy it is to make the changes to the design. So there we go. So let's pretend we have a bunch of sizes active. I'm not going to waste any of your time designing any more sizes. So the next step here is we like our design. What we want to do is we want to share it with anyone who's involved in the process. So a great workflow is when everyone can be involved in the creative process, allowing to suggest revisions and make changes to the design. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly hit save on our design, and in our preview panel, we're going to click on our preview design, and that's going to open up our design in a unique live URL, and this URL can be sent to anyone in the world. They don't necessarily need to be a Flexitive user to view this. And as you can see, it's going to display all of our sizes. It's going to show all of our animations. And the coolest thing about it is that it's live updating. So let's say we got feedback and we noticed that the left aligned text doesn't work very well for the 2x3 size. And I kind of agree. I think it should be centered. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this text box. We're going to hide the original left aligned text box in our layers panel by clicking this show/hide element. And with this new text box that we duplicated, in our text settings panel, we're just going to quickly change it from left to center aligned. And one more final thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this text box is only visible on this size. So you can do that by only showing it on portrait sizes, or just to be a little bit more sure, we're going to click only this size. And so if we click on save, hopefully if we refresh the 2x3 page, we will see that the text, as you can see, the text has been updated in real time from left aligned to center aligned. Great. And so logically, when something's approved and it's been previewed, the next step is you're going to want to export your design. So in Flexitive, you can just open up the export panel. And so with responsive designs, you can export it as an HTML5 package for any of the leading ad servers. We have all of them here. If you happen to be missing yours, feel free to reach out to us and we can get it added. And on top of that, you can export for a CMS custom site, like WordPress is a very popular one. And then on top of that, you have the ability to export either as tags or export your design as a zip package. And so you have a bunch of different options for how you're exporting in Flexitive, and that's one of the very great benefits of why this is a great workflow tool. So if I know that I need to export my responsive design as an HTML5 package, that's great, I can export that. But then you also have the ability to go into the fixed or social tabs, and you have a lot more options here. So you can export it as an HTML5 package once again, just as a static image. And then also for certain accounts, you can export your design as a video, which is an MP4, or as an animated GIF. And the great thing about these export options, is that you can apply these types of exports to channels like social or email. So once again, here you can see that video is a very strong element for social or digital signage. Animated GIF also works really well for social and email as well. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make a variation of this design, and we're going to adapt it for social. So what we're going to do is we're just going to save it once again quickly. We're going to exit out of the full screen mode. And here I'm just going to show you a little bit of the workflow tools in Flexitive. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our More. We're going to set our language of this project to English, and we also want it to be displayed in Canada, since that's where we are right now. So we're going to click on this Canada drop down. So this is just a great way to organize your design. So let's say if you wanted to search for something that was like something English or Canadian, you can do that with the search tag. And then also with these tags, it helps for your export. And then on top of that, we're going to set our design from in progress to live, since it's been approved. It went through the review stage, it's been approved, and it's now live and being served. And then on top of that, what we're going to do is we're going to click on duplicate. So when you click on duplicate in Flexitive, it's going to make a one-for-one copy of your design, including all of the sizes, how the design looks, and it's also going to include all of the animations and everything. It's going to be a one-for-one copy. And so what we're going to do is we're going to change this to be a social post. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in a description, and we're going to make sure it's for social. And within this design, there's a couple quick changes we're going to make. So as I was showing you before for social, one of the most impactful things is to have a video or an animated GIF. And that could technically be done with what we have right here, because we have an animation sequence. But I think it could just be a little bit more impactful if we switched out this green background for a video background. So what I'm going to do is, back in my assets panel, I'm going to open up the videos tab. And I already uploaded a bunch of assets before, but I didn't upload this cool falling beans background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload that, and we're going to make a quick swap of this background for this new falling beans background. So it's just uploading the video really quickly. And the greatest thing about Flexitive for making variations is how easy it is. So literally all I have to do is select the image I want to replace in Flexitive. So as you can see, I'm selecting this green background. Lots of ways you can do that in the layers panel, on the canvas itself. And then in Flexitive, you have the option to replace an image. So you can do that with an image, or what we're going to do is we're going to replace this image with a video. So all we're going to do is click swap asset. And we're just going to quickly play the video. And as you can see, the background has been swapped for this falling beans background. And the greatest thing about it is that it's not only been applied to this one size that we were in, but it's been applied to every other size where that the background occurred. So we can quickly preview these changes that we made. And I can show you that this background has been applied to every single size, and it still has all of the animations equipped from the previous design as well. It might just take a little bit longer to load. And as you can see, we didn't set the controls off. So I'm just going to quickly go back into one of our sizes and open up our video settings for this. And I'm going to turn controls off since there's no reason for that. I'm going to have it set to autoplay and loop. And so now when we go back in here and we reload it, it should look like an actual design. Just give it 1 second to load here. Awesome. So as you can see, we have a animated video background design that was created in literally like 1 minute. And what we're going to do is we're going to quickly adapt it for social. So we're going to go back to our view all sizes, and this is what I was telling you about earlier. You can switch from fixed or to social. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our social tab. Yes, please switch. And we're going to choose a type of post that we want to do. So let's say we want to do an Instagram post, and we want to make it one of the very popular square images. So what I did there is I activated this image. And as you can see, Flexit have cloned the size from the next closest size. So the Instagram carousel image is a square image. So it's a 1x1 responsive layout. So what Flexit did is it took the 1x1 layout and it applied it to the social size. So that's great. Except I don't know if this design is going to work really well for social, so we might just have to make a quick change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move some of the elements around. I'm going to put that logo up on the top. I'm also going to remove our button because I don't think our social media post really needs one. I'm going to change the text settings just to be center aligned. I'm going to put that at the bottom. And I'm going to have our whole beans image sort of be our main focal point here. Except, you know what I want to do? I don't want to have just one image. I want to make it even cooler. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a carousel. So in our widgets panel, I'm going to add a carousel. And to add elements to your carousel, all you have to do is in the assets panel, click add to widget. So I'm going to add our whole beans coffee bag along with our premium roast coffee cup. As you can see, those are being added as slides right now. And you have a lot of control with how your carousel works. You can change the type of animation. You can change the duration and the delay between each. So I'm going to set it to be a quickly looping carousel here. Loop on, swipe on. That's cool. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this design, and I'm going to quickly preview just this one social size. Awesome. So here you can see we have a pretty well working social post, celebrate coffee, rotating between two products. And what I'm going to quickly do is I am going to export this for social. So static image, that is not what we want to do since this is animated and it's going to perform really well. So we have the option to either export it as a video or export it as a GIF. So I'm just going to export it as a video since that's usually a little bit higher performing on social. And just give Flexit a second or two here to export the design. And just give me 1 second to take a water break because I've been talking. Awesome. And you can see the export has been done, and we can quickly preview it here. Nice. Perfect. Exactly what we want. Ready to post on Instagram and get us some great attention for that post. I'm going to exit out of this design. And I'm going to quickly show you. So another great thing about Flexit Workflow is it's not just for designers. If you want to have any of the stakeholders in the design process come to view your design, you can give them view-only access. And this is kind of what their view is going to be like. So they can go through all the different folders, view the designs, but they don't have too much permission to do anything with it. So this is good for an approval stage. Yeah, and that's kind of the conclusion for my webinar today. I know it was a lot to go over, and you guys probably have a lot of questions you want to ask me. Please feel free to reach out to me in the chat box here today, and I can get back to you with an answer. Or feel free to think about it and reach out to our support team at support@flexit.com, and we can answer any of your questions. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for attending. I hope you all learned a lot, and I hope you all